Hey everyone, last night I, along with many others, witnessed a bit of a PR disaster when it comes to gaming. For those that have kept up with the situation, you'll know that Ironmace, the development team behind Dark and Darker, recently made an announcement creating a GoFundMe campaign. Now this was made with the hope of getting financial backing from its player base in order to fight an ongoing legal battle that they currently have with Nexon, a big Korean gaming company. However, the way it was handled was extremely poor. Now to start things off, the GoFundMe was actually published by only one member of the dev team and not the developers as a whole, which sparked major concerns regarding its legitimacy. It raised over $50,000 in a matter of 30 minutes, at which point the whole campaign was completely removed by the owner on GoFundMe. Not only this, but in Discord, panic had settled in. Moderators had begun to lock down the Discord completely, informing all of its members this could potentially be an elaborate scam to make a quick buck from die-hard Dark and Darker fans. And the announcement for funding was removed only to be immediately posted again by the potentially compromised account. So far, not looking too good. The funders of the campaign in Discord started freaking out, wondering where the money had gone and getting rightfully scared that they might not ever see their dollars again. Content creators were speculating in their own chat, waiting eagerly to see how things played out so they could upload a video about the whole situation. And the Ironmace devs were, to say the least, most oblivious to this whole situation as it unfolded. Thankfully, after some time, moderators and developers came forward and actually stated that the GoFundMe was legitimate, but it had been shut down as it was to be used as kind of a last resort against their tyrannical ruler Nexon. Now, I've been pretty in favour of Ironmace regarding this whole situation. Nexon really aren't deserving of much support considering their history as a gaming corporation, but we have to acknowledge that there is the possibility that they do have something on Ironmace, and that should not be completely disregarded. Furthermore, even as a fan of Ironmace and Dark and Darker, this whole situation was an absolute PR nightmare for them, and it was actually a disaster for their fans as well. The main problem with this whole thing is that if Ironmace had just banded together and made a public announcement regarding their lack of financial funding to support their ongoing legal case, I'm honestly 100% sure that people would have banded together and reached their goal within a matter of days. But now they've really thrown themselves in very deep water. You know, people don't know if they can trust them anymore, people don't know what's going to happen to all of that money that was already donated, which was $50,000 by the way in like 30 minutes. And the campaign was shut down and we have no idea what impact this is going to have on their whole legal situation as well. I feel if a development team is going to be asking for a significant amount of money from its fans, this needs to be handled in the right way. There need to be admins, moderators, and developers on hand ready to answer any questions that fans have regarding this, especially when it comes to schemes like GoFundMe that can be shady from the onset. The announcement also needs to be made in the correct manner, not some shady Discord post in the early hours of the morning asking for $500,000 with absolutely no previous build-up to the release of the statement beforehand. And look, let's be honest for a second. Video gamers are perhaps some of the most skeptical folks out there when it comes to pretty much anything, especially in this situation when they're heavily involved with a game like Dark and Darker that's already having a great deal of issues legally and could put them in the spotlight for some weird activity. This premature ejaculation from one of the Dark and Darker devs has probably ruined any future funding that they might receive in the future from their fans, especially on a large scale like they had originally planned with the GoFundMe that asked for $500,000. This is a massive blunder for Ironmace going forward, and they're going to have to really repair the relationship that they have with their fans if they ever intend to start with a crowdfunding campaign ever again, because now it's going to be very tainted. Thankfully, the money that was donated through GoFundMe is likely going to be refunded through some kind of holding process that actually happens on GoFundMe. So hopefully if the campaign was cancelled by Ironmace, they're able to return the funds to all of the donators and sort the situation out as quickly as possible. However, they have not yet stated if they plan to do so, so perhaps they're going to take that money and just hold the campaign for now, but we'll have to wait and see exactly what they tell us. Now, the developer who posted the announcement might have been trying to be a hero, but instead became the anti-hero.
I accidentally became a meme.
Ironmace wanted to damage control this whole situation. Removing the GoFundMe was probably the completely wrong route to go. It only adds more taint to the whole situation, and really they should have just kept it running and just clarified that this was made as a stressful decision and from an emotional place by one of their developers in a very tense moment. But anyhow, things are suddenly looking a whole lot worse for Ironmace. It's clear that they don't have the funds to actually manage a court battle with Nexon at this point, and they're probably not going to get the funds in the future from another crowdfunding campaign after this disaster. And if they do, it's likely going to be nowhere the amount that they actually desire. Now, I'm sure this is a bit of a disappointment for you guys, just as it is for me. I'm really kind of surprised that Ironmace would let this kind of thing happen, even if it was just the actions of one person. You would hope that they would be kind of unified by this point after going through everything that they're going through. And I've also reviewed a lot more evidence with regards to the whole situation, giving me a bit more context in terms of both sides. If you want a summary on what that is, I'd definitely give Kira's video a watch. I'll post it in the description for you guys to take a look if you do have the time. It dives a little bit deeper into Korean sources regarding what's actually happening at the P3 project with the employees that are now working on Dark and Darker, and with the employees that are actually still at Nexon and kind of feel cheated out of the project that they worked on. It also just sheds light on kind of how things happened and why things happened the way that they did. There's definitely room in this whole thing for Ironmace to not be being 100% truthful with their side of events, and it's definitely worth remembering that as we move forward. I'm all for supporting Ironmace with regards to their situation, but in all honesty, it could go south very quickly for the development team if any of the allegations made by the P3 employees and also Nexon are found out to be even somewhat true. So even though I'm a massive fan of Dark and Darker, I'm very wary of throwing my money at the situation, and I'd be very wary if I were you about throwing your money at the situation, because it might just end up that they have infringed on a lot of legal fronts, and the game cannot continue development, so definitely worth keeping this in mind as we move forward. I think one of the main points to consider with pretty much everything, if you're like myself and aren't a massive fan of Nexon and you throw your allegiance more to the side of Ironmace, the people that are actually affected by this aren't just Ironmace and Nexon. What Kira's video really made me think about is the other developers that were working on the P3 project at the same time as the Ironmace developers. From their point of view, they feel absolutely cheated out of what could have been their life's work, and I can't even really imagine how this feels from their point of view. For a lot of them, it was just as important to them as it was to the Ironmace developers, and we need to keep that in mind as we move forward if their projects turn out to be very similar. Very important that we all remember that there are normal, real people behind these allegations, some of who are getting affected by a lot of this hate who haven't actually done anything wrong. And I've also seen a lot of people from the Dark and Darker community, you know, they're saying that they're going to boycott Nexon, review bomb, and do lots of other kind of harmful things, and honestly this kind of behaviour just isn't it. It doesn't help anyone when you do this kind of thing. It actually hurts normal people and likely hinders Ironmace when it comes to their legal proceedings, so please, enough with all that stuff. It's not helping anyone and it's just not good. Now, if you guys have an opinion on this, let me know in the comments. I'm extremely curious what everyone thinks about this, and I'll keep you all updated as things unfold. I'll see you in the next one.